Hi, this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. In this week's guitar lesson, I'm going to show you how to play and improvise in this country blues rhythm style. Now this is a lot of fun to do because you're going back and forth between playing rhythm and then these fill licks in between. And those fill licks are what you can improvise so you can make it sound different every time. And I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to break this lesson down into two parts. In this video, we'll take a look at the first half. If you'd like to watch the second half and download the tablature and download the MP3 jam track so that you can practice along with it, you're going to want to go to ActiveMelody.com, go to the lessons page and do a search for EP220. That's a lesson number for this lesson. So let's go ahead and break down part one. Alright, so let's talk through tone setting. I always get questioned on that. Now I'm not using any pedals. I'm not even using an amplifier for this. I'm running out of the guitar and into a Line 6 pod, which is one of those little red pods. I bought it back in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's first generation pod. And I've got a little bit of overdrive on it. And that's what it sounds like. It's pretty simple. There's not even a lot of reverb or anything. And the only other thing that I'm using to shape the sound is I'm playing on a Stratocaster and I have the pickup selector switch on the bridge pickup with the treble all the way up and the volume all the way up. So that's the basic sound that I'm going for. And it gives you kind of a bright, kind of country blues. And I thought that worked for this. Almost sounds like a Telecaster. Now, if you don't have a pod, don't go out and buy one or anything. All you need to do is just plug into your amp and give it a little bit of overdrive. Not a lot. You don't want it to sound too crunchy, but that's the basic setup that I'm using for this. Now, the song is in the key of E. It's a 1-4-5, meaning the chords are an E chord, there's an A chord, and there's a B7 chord, and we're just going to cycle through them. And we use the same strum pattern over each chord. Now we're going to learn that strum pattern first. If you're a premium member, you can go ahead and print out the tablature, or at least pull it up on your screen, and you'll see I've got all the strum patterns, I've got the ups and the downstrokes and everything spelled out for you to make it easier. But we're going to cover that in this video. So you may need to write this down if that makes it easier for you. But let's start with making an E chord with our left hand. And then with the right hand, the first thing we do is a downstroke on the 6th string. And then we're going to play another downstroke, but it's going to be on string 6, 5, and 4. Now the reason I'm making an E chord here is in case I bump the 3rd string, it'll still be okay. It'll still be acceptable. It's just another note in that E chord. But I'm trying to limit my playing to that area. And that way you get a power chord. You don't have a 3rd in that chord, so it's not major or minor. It's it has more of a powerful sound. Real low end kind of thing. So that's how we start it, with down, down, and then there's a muted up and a muted down. Up, down. So we have down, down, up, down. Now we're going to do an upstroke on the same chord, over the same chord. It's just strings 4, 5, and 6. So we have, there's another downstroke, a muted down right after that chord. Now we're going to play another upstroke, and we're going to let that one ring out a little longer, so you'll hear it here. And then we're going to do another upstroke and another muted down. Okay, so let's back up. I know this is a lot of information. And then there's another muted upstroke. Now when you do that final muted upstroke, your hand is in the up position so that you can bring it back down and you can play this little lead part, I guess. And I keep going back to this. You'll hear this repeated over and over again. And all I'm doing is playing string 5 and 4, but we go from the 2nd fret, do a hammer onto the 4th fret, that's on the 5th string, and do the same thing on the 4th string. So it's another hammer on between fret 2 and 4. And those are just downstrokes of the right hand. Now, let's look at those 2 notes there. Why did those work? You know, where are those coming from? All I'm doing is when I'm playing an E, mentally, or visually rather, well, I guess it's both, but I can see a little box that happens here between, and this is on strings between fret 2 and 4, on string 6, on string 5, and on string 4. You have this little box here that you can noodle around in and get a major pentatonic sound. Try that. Just try playing around. Try hitting some notes, but make sure the last note is always that low E string, and you can start to improvise with that. You know, fast, slow, however you want to do it. But anyway, that's where this little part came from. It just came from that little box. And I always think of it as an extension off of this E chord. Anytime I'm playing an E, I know I've got these notes that I can play and you know, improvise with it. Works great when you're playing rhythm. Okay, so from the beginning. Okay, now we're going to repeat. Now the second time through, I change it up. So what basically the format is, I play that part 1, think of it that as part 1, and then the next time through I'm going to do a little improvise lead thing. Then we're going to go back to part 1, I'm going to do another lead thing, and I just keep following that format. Second time through. Isn't that kind of nice? That's very country sounding, but now here's how I played it. So I'm using hybrid picking, so I use my ring finger to pluck that 1 string, the open 1 string, open E string. Then I put my middle finger on the 2nd fret, 3rd string, and I slid up to the 4th fret. Then I hit that 1 string again, so we have, and then I go back to the 4th fret, and I slide down to the 2nd fret now, so we're just going backwards now. So from the start of that we have, and then that last note is the 1st fret, 3rd string. Now notice this 1 string rings out the whole time. So try not to bump it with your hand when you're sliding that around. It sounds very cool to let that ring out. And to me that's kind of simulating a pedal steel kind of sound. And then we go right back in, notice my hand goes right back into the E chord so that we can repeat that rhythm. Now these notes, all I'm doing as a reference, I'm going from pattern 1 of the minor pentatonic scale for E to pattern 2. When I slide up to here, that's just going from pattern 1 up to pattern 2. If you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say patterns, check out the Blues Lead course at activemelody.com. All premium members have access to that. And I go through all 5 patterns, but that's what I'm doing. Now, if we're not playing this in the key of E, if you like the sound of this lick, and let's say it was in another key, let's say it was an A, you would think, well, how would you do that? Because you don't have that open string to ring out. Well, just know that you can play this note. So that's the same note, the 5th fret, 2nd string. It's the same note as that open 1 string. So I could have done it that way. I just liked leaving it ringing out. I think it sounds fuller that way, so that's why I chose to do it that way. Okay, so that's lick number 1. Well, we have part number 1 and then that first lick. So let's back up from the beginning. Now we're going to repeat part 1, and then we're going into lick 2, and then we go into the 4 chord. So this 5 notes, and again we're just going from pattern 1 to pattern 2, And then we're going to walk it right down. Now all I'm doing is I'm going from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret on the 3rd string. And then I'm going to go 2nd fret, 1st fret. That's all on the 3rd string. Then my middle finger comes down to the 2nd fret, 4th string. And then I play the open D string. That's an upstroke with the right hand. This is just alternate pick. Down, up, down, up. And then I go into the A part. Now, once I play that open D string, it's ringing out so that I can take my hand off the fretboard and reposition it to play the A chord. All I'm doing is barring the first 4 strings on the 2nd fret. And then I come down on the 5th string this time. This is exactly the same thing we played from a strum pattern perspective as we did over the 1 chord. One thing I forgot to mention, I always like to mention when I'm playing a strum pattern like this, is to keep your hand in motion. Never break the motion. No matter if you're playing the lead stuff, if you're playing double stops, if you're playing the rhythm, just keep it going. And that makes it a lot easier than to try and stop and figure out where you're at. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so from the A part, we're going to now be concentrating on strings 5, 4, and 3. So we're going to play. This time we've got another, it's similar to what we did the first time. We're going to keep that bar there, and we're going to play middle finger on the 3rd fret, 5th string. I do a hammer on to the 4th fret, 5th string. And then I play the 2nd fret, 4th string, and I do a hammer on with my ring finger up to the 4th fret, 4th string. So it sounds like that. Just 2 downstrokes with the right hand. Isn't that nice? So now you've got this groove that you can play over E, another groove that you can play over A. Second time through I went. So for that, I just kept the bar down, in fact, and I put my middle finger down on the 3rd fret, 2nd string. My ring finger goes down on the 4th fret, 3rd string. So I'm playing these 2 notes. Now, some of you will say, wait, where are those at? What are those? Here's how I think of this. And this is how I was able to improvise quickly, play that. When I'm playing an A chord, using this chord shape, so think of your chord shape, and then you can translate this to other chords if you want, up the neck. But if you're using an A chord shape, on this side of the chord, I can make a little double stop here, and I can slide that double stop around. I use that all the time, just what I showed you there, over other chords. So if we're in D, see where that is? And so that's all I was doing. I just knew about those licks because I use them all the time. And that's why I was able to play that when I improvised it. And I'm just adding it and then taking it off. So let's play from the beginning of that A part. So it goes like this. And then I put my ring finger down on the 4th fret, 4th string, and then take it off and play the 2nd fret, 4th string, keeping that bar down the whole time. Okay, let's take it from the beginning now. Now we're back to the E. Now, that lick right there, that's almost exactly like that very first lick we did. The only difference is this note. So it starts with another, I'm using my ring finger here to pluck that. Now if you don't want to do hybrid picking, you can just use your pick and do an upstroke there. But it's the 1 string. I'm plucking on the 1 string, picking on the 3rd string. So after I pick that, I took my middle finger, actually go ahead and put my middle finger and ring finger down, both on the 2nd fret, strings 3 and 1. So I slide them both together so that I can hit that, so they both go up to the 4th fret, so I can hit that 4th fret 1st string. So it goes. And then I come back down, all the way down to the 1st fret 3rd string. And then I'm ready for the 5 chord, or the B7. So, now this little lick is a double stop that I use all the time. I've covered it in lots of other lessons. And just look at where it is in relation to your to this chord shape. This is great for turnaround. Even if you learn nothing else in this lesson, if you learn this turnaround. You know, Robert Johnson would use it. So anyway, just think about that double stop. It's used all the time, and you could, how would you do it over A? Just look at where it is in relation to your chord shape. So that's where that lick comes from. All right, so from the A part. Then my middle finger goes down on the 2nd fret 5th string, and I go ahead and make this B7 chord shape. That's middle finger on the 2nd fret 5th string, ring finger on the 2nd fret 3rd string, and then index finger on the 1st fret 4th string, so that I can play that same strum pattern. Now here's what I did for the lick in this one. Kind of corny, but I thought it worked. It's very easy to do. All I did is take my index finger off and I hammered it on there to the 1st fret 3rd string, or 1st fret 4th string. And then I ended with. And all I'm doing for that is I let my pinky come up here while I'm making this chord. My pinky came up to the 2nd fret 1st string. And I slid up 2 frets up to the 4th fret 1st string, did down, up, did a slide back down to the 2nd fret, and then took it off to hit that open E string, and then the 2nd fret 2nd string, and then the open E string. Now this lick, all that lick is a lick in the key of E. Even though we were playing over the 5 chord, which is a B chord, I was not thinking in terms of playing the chord changes there. I was just thinking staying in the key. So I know that there's a major pentatonic scale thing that you can do in E. In fact, this would be another great takeaway for you. See how it sounds kind of bluesy, but it sounds more happy. Instead of going, that sounds more bluesy, but coming up to here gives you that major pentatonic happy feel. So that's all I did. I hit that with my pinky. And that's how we ended part 1. Now then I go into a kind of change up the rhythm and change things up in part 2. Let me back up now. And I'll go through all of part 1. I'll go through it slowly, and you can have this as a final reference. And then I'll see you in part 2, and make sure you get the MP3 jam track and practice along with that. That's really how you're going to know if you can play it with a full band and you get the whole experience. So here we go.